Blue Gum Farm's new ownership group has successfully negotiated their first yearling sales series, and now they're embarking on their first full season in charge of Victoria's Blue Gum Farm. And it's an exciting time with Sejardan, a first season son of Sebring, being joined by flying Artie, of course, the sire of dual Group 1 winner Artorius. Sean, it's fantastic seeing beautiful green grass here at Blue Gum Farm, and of course you've been through your first yearling sales series as the owners of this great property, and now two new stallions starting a new spring as well. It's just such a wonderful time.
It is, Carolyn. We've had a tremendous start, and obviously the yearling sales were a great way for us to come into the business. Now we're going into the cycle of spring and working through our breeding prospects and everything else. We've obviously got a lot of foals on the ground already, and two new boys to keep us busy.
Coming off heels is Sejardan, powering through the centre.
We start with Sejardan. He was always such a handsome, talented colt from day one.
We loved the horse, and obviously, you know, one of the things that we loved about the horse was his turn of foot. He showed a great turn of foot in winning his races before Christmas. And then Sejardan did pop onto the radar, and we felt that the opportunity was a great one and that we would take it. Like, at the end of the day, there's some great horses that have won the Breeders' Plate, and the list is of some of the great stallions that are currently standing now have won the Breeders' Plate. Piero, Schnitzel, horses such as that. The Golden Gift's obviously a new race, it's a restricted race, but I think the way that he won the race showed that he was a horse with a great amount of potential. And coming back into the Todman Stakes after Christmas and as a lead up to the Golden Slippery showed that he was able to go to that higher level.
On the outside, Sejardan heading top gear now.
That Todman on that heavy track as well. You know, that is a really tough horse, and obviously doing it not only pre-Christmas, but you know, in one of the major Golden Slipper lead-ups.
Yeah, and who knows, going through that period of time in Sydney when all the tracks were horribly heavy, who knows what he would have done on top of the ground. A horse with his turn of foot, you wouldn't expect them to be able to accelerate and do what he was doing on heavy tracks. So, you know, I think on top of the ground he would have been far more effective myself.
Sweet ride, still 2 lengths in front. Sejardan's chasing hard.
And of course came back and won that Red Anchor Stakes as a 3-year-old, so he really did train on. You know, it wasn't just that, you know, that really early 2-year-old period.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he did train on, and he obviously had a couple of issues along the way, but certainly for us, he was a horse that we felt showed enough and came back and did do it at 3, so that we were happy to take the risk on on the basis of Sebring having done such a great job himself and starting to leave sire sons.
Well, he has. Talking about the sire sons, of course, we talk about Cepedo with Buenos Noches. Now, he's been talked of as a serious Everest prospect for this carnival. But, you know, there are plenty of others as well, Gold Standard, and there aren't that many Sebring sons. So he's one of the best of them with that great 2-year-old performance.
Without a doubt, the best of them. So from a race performance perspective, and you know the fact that he's had 2 good sires off very modest service fees come out and throw those types of horses, this horse has to be a great opportunity.
And physically, when you look at him, he's not one of the little nuggety sort of, you know, former good 2-year-olds. He has a lot of bulk and scope and great back end on him, doesn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, when Kathy and I went to look at the horse at Gary Portelli's, we just looked at the horse and had to have him on type. Gary Portelli's famous comment about the horse is that if you were going to paint a horse, you'd paint Sejardan. You know, that's what he thought of him. Yeah. And to this day, you know, he believes that. They've been down with the owners recently and had a look at the horse, loved him. Certainly from our perspective, you know, his shoulder, he's got a great head. Certainly for a Sebring, his head is magnificent. Probably thrown more to Hinchinbrook from that point of view. Got a lovely curved back leg and plenty of depth, and he's let down, and you know, most people when we've paraded him, even when he was 3, I was looking at him thinking he's a 5-year-old. He's so masculine and strong.
Yeah, and the pedigree too. I mean, the dam side, Miss Sejardan, she was a good winner herself, and her third dam is that great mare Procrastinate. But you've also got, obviously through Hinchinbrook being a half brother to Schnitzel, you've got Fastnet Rock in there. You know, there's so much in that pedigree. What do you like most about it?
I think it's a pedigree in the first 3 generations that there's at least 4 serious 2-year-old stallions. And you know, for me, he's only got to replicate his pedigree to be a 2-year-old stallion, and that's where we felt the gap in the market was in Victoria for him, was as a 2-year-old stallion, because there's just not a stallion here at the moment that commands that title as a 2-year-old stallion.
And he's obviously now, he's covered a number of mares, so it's that anxious wait, I guess, to find out everything's working. But he seems to have taken to everything like a duck to water. His temperament is outstanding, and you know, great value, $13,750, and there are shares available too?
Absolutely, yeah, we're still selling shares in him, and you know, obviously to try and give the horse every opportunity, we want people to take the ride with us. And there's been plenty of horses that started off modest service fees, and I'm Invincible is one of them, that end up in a different place. So he's certainly got every opportunity. I think the sire line is very, very strong and probably untapped. So from that perspective, I think he's a great opportunity at a reasonable price, whether you breed to race or commercial.
It's start turn and Flying Artie with a stern. Flying Artie's hit the front lane.
And it's a barnmate, of course, Flying Artie. He's another absolute favourite of mine, a Coolmore Stud Stakes winner, won a Blue Diamond Prelude, a Blue Sapphire too. But, you know, we're talking about his star son, Artorius. He's already really done the job, hasn't he?
He has, and he's a completely underrated horse. Obviously, there's not too many horses that get a dual Group 1 winner out of their first crop. On top of that, he's got Asfura floating around that won last weekend and is a Group 1 horse in the making. You know, I think he's had 5 stakes winners last season. He's sitting in Victoria is equal second in number of stakes winners to Rubik. Toronado sits above them, obviously, but certainly at the price bracket, he's at price point where he is, he's far more value than either of them. And he's just a horse that he's got a big book of mares of yearlings now at 123 foals. And that was off the back of Artoria. So there's some beautifully bred horses coming through. And every week at the moment, you know, he's getting a couple of debut winners. He's had 2 this week. He's had, you know, another good winner on Saturday. So, you know, I know there's a lot of positivity about him, and he's a horse where potentially there's a lot of upside.
Yeah, and he's so strong. Like, I just love it, these stallions, when they've, you know, really let down, and he's so masculine. But I also love, of course, Rubiton, who stood here, the Great Cox Plate winner, is his dam sire, and you see it in him. There's so much Rubiton there, which I'm sure a lot of Victorian breeders would look very fondly on.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because Tony Williams from Newgate was here yesterday and he said exactly the same thing. He just couldn't believe, he said, I think I'm looking at Rubiton. You know, so it obviously does come through. And we used to travel here and have mares served by Rubiton, and he was a magnificent horse, and a horse that you know you'd be proud to have one by.
Artorius is bursting home late. Imperatrice in front. Artorius!
And of course, further down the line now, I guess you know what sorts of mares are going to suit a horse like Flying Artie.
Absolutely, and I think Flying Artie is a horse you have to make carefully. Not so much from a pedigree perspective, because he's that beautiful outcross stallion, but just from a type perspective, you need to send a smaller, neater mare. He's not a horse that suits big scopy mares. So that's the key and the trick to him, and he does throw type when you send the right mare to him.
And it is, as I said, it's just gorgeous down here this time of the year. Obviously winter's, you know, a bit colder in Victoria and a bit wetter, but you get the result of these gorgeous green paddocks. And you, Kathy and yourself, you look as if you're really, really enjoying being here.
Absolutely, it's our dream, so we're living the dream, so we can't be any happier.
In our G1 Goldmine Stallion analysis this week, we turn the spotlight on Blue Gum Farm's Sejardan. He has a 2020 match pedigree, and his Golden Slipper winning sire Sebring, with 2 or more stakes winners, crosses best with Zabil at 15% through Samari and Typing. Street Cry is not far behind at 14%, followed by Shamadal, Danehill, Hassanay at a 6% rate of Group 1 winners to runners, and Schwazir. Sebring, sire more than ready with 3 or more stakes winners, crosses best with Scat Daddy at 50%, including 12.5% Group 1 winners to runners. Hassanay and Lonro are the Australian-based sires to cross best with the great dual hemisphere influence.